And The Witch Who Came from the Sea. No, it's not about witchcraft. It's actually about a woman that was raped by her father as a child and has repressed trauma and decides to murder men, basically. And they always end up being celebrities. And it's kind of weird. It's a weird, kind of surreal film, but it's actually a very good film. Yeah, it's an interesting movie. Basically, it's almost it's almost like a dream type of thing where she's like she doesn't understand that she's like actually doing it. She thinks that like she's like doing it while she's asleep or something, or so it's just kind of one of those films where it's almost surreal a little bit. But yeah, it's a good film about trauma and, you know, obviously issues with her father and all that. I can't really go into it, but it does show some disturbing scenes between her and her father. I can leave a trailer in the description box, but yeah, it's kind of an odd film, but I don't think a lot of people really know much about this film. It does tend to, let's see, I think came out in early 80s. Yeah. But it made it on the Nasties list. The original Boogeyman. Basically a movie about the spirit of a man that basically haunts people. And it does take place in Maryland, I believe. So yeah, One Dark Night in a Small Southern Town. I believe it's Maryland that it's filmed in, if I'm correct. And yes, Maryland is the South, people. Now, I know they don't want to be called the South, but it is the South. So yeah, it's pretty interesting film. It's definitely it's different from like the newer Boogeyman. You know, this isn't really so much. It's not like it's a creature or something. It's definitely a person, and of course it's got kind of a whole exorcism thing type of thing going on too, where there's a priest, you know, trying to exorcise this mirror that the spirit is trapped in, and it's pretty good. It's actually a pretty good film, The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman. So I'll have to leave a trailer description. Axe, aka Lisa. A film basically about a mentally disturbed girl that ends up killing criminals that take refuge in her house on the run. It's a very short film, and you know, it's not a bad film. It's just basically about a farm girl, and one of the things that's interesting is, and Lampy Man actually discussed this as well, is there's a scene where she does cut the head off a chicken, and throughout the movie, the chicken, for some reason, gets more shots than anything else. But again, you know, it's one of those cult films that a lot of people probably don't remember or something. It's a pretty good film. Don't Go Near the Park, another don't movie for this list. Don't Go Near the Park is pretty cheesy film about it's almost laughable in a way. It's about a brother and a sister that are from prehistoric times, and they are doomed to live out their life constantly on Earth, basically immortal. So they're doomed to walk the Earth basically for all eternity. And it just so happens that, here they are, from the Stone Age, and all of a sudden they're in Los Angeles in modern day, and they can speak perfectly good English. Not only that, they can speak American English, which is hilarious. So it doesn't really make any sense that they would be in California. I mean, maybe they're from Europe originally. The Ice Age, the whole part of the region was mostly Europe, so technically they should probably be in Europe somewhere, but I guess they moved to California eventually while they were on Earth. Makes logic sense, right, I guess. Anyway, in order to prevent themselves from becoming really old and stay youthful forever, they have to consume children. And yeah, you can see why this was banned in the UK. You don't just have man-eating cavemen. You also have children-eating cavemen. So, yeah, it's pretty gruesome, gut-munching type of film. And we have Frozen Scream here. Frozen Scream. The only way that you can get it is with this other film. What can I say about this film? I have to say this is probably actually one of the worst films that is on this list. It's hard to describe, really, what it is, but, I mean, once again, Lampy Man did an excellent movie review of Frozen Scream. He described it basically as being like a Kate Bush music video, and it is. The beginning of the film is just like a Kate Bush music video. If you don't know who Kate Bush is, she was really big in the 80s. She's had a resurgence in recent years thanks to her running up the hill, being covered. But basically her videos are kind of, oddballish. And Frozen Scream has a scene where it is reminiscent of a Kate Bush video. I have to say. But yeah, it's it's an interesting film. I will say that it's kind of a they're implanted with devices to make them like homicidal zombies, basically. Yeah, it's really interesting. Type of government experiment type of film. But definitely not a very good film. And then Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, or Flesh for Frankenstein, filmed by Paul Morrissey. The reason why it's called Andy Warhol's Frankenstein is because Paul Morrissey's film. Basically, it's an advertisement ploy for this. It has nothing to do with Andy Warhol, but Paul Morrissey worked with Andy Warhol, so that's probably why he used that. It's basically his version of Frankenstein. It's pretty gruesome. There's a lot of gore in it. And so he's trying to get two dead people to mate, basically, and create like a whole new race and all that with it. And it's a pretty good film. This is actually a bootleg of it. It is not officially released, but I happened to find it as a bootleg. And of course, you can't go wrong when it's $4.99, right? So I was happy to just add this to my collection because I've been collecting these nasty films for some time, and the fact that somebody like created a bootleg of it and then sold it is pretty cool. When it came out in theaters, it was 3D, actually. And then Night of the Bloody Apes. Night of the Bloody Apes is basically one of those experiment films. I believe it is Mexican made. It came out in 1967. And it's basically the man is he's given the heart of a gorilla, and the heart of the gorilla turns him into like half of a gorilla, and he goes crazy and starts attacking people. And that's basically the sum of the story, Night of the Bloody Apes. So I can leave a trailer in the description box if you guys want. Another Lucio Fulci film, The House by the Cemetery. Instead of multiple zombies, there's basically just one zombie in this film, and it's a doctor that once lived in the house that's haunting the house. The family, of course, is being attacked, and it's there's a lot of gore in it. It's a pretty good film. Anything that Lucio Fulci does, honestly, I'm a big fan of. His early 80s films, his 70s and early 80s films were especially good in my opinion. So Dario Argento Tenebrae film also appeared on the list. It is about a writer who basically writes about murders, except the murders are actually coming true, and it turns out that he himself is the killer. It's a very good film, Tenebrae. So, this one comes with Deep Red, which is also uncut on this. Deep Red is really good. Deep Red, honestly, is better, in my opinion, as far as the set goes. But Tenebrae isn't really it's not a bad movie. So, And really, I'm a big fan of Dario Argento anyway. So, I wouldn't say it's my favorite though. Inferno. This is another Dario Argento film that is featured on the list. Why is this featured on the list and not Suspiria? Suspiria is actually the first film in a series known as The Three Mothers. The final Mother movie, Mother of Tears, came out before he died in the early 2000s. But the first film in the series is actually Suspiria. And Suspiria, honestly, is probably the best one out of all of them, in my opinion. Suspiria is one of my favorite films, actually. This is the second one, Inferno. One of the main reasons why it appears on the list is because there's a scene in the film towards the end of the movie that shows a cat devouring a mouse. Something that happens in nature, but the UK has always had issues with animal violence. I imagine some of the murders in the film probably also put it on there, but I think it was mostly because of that scene that it ended up getting banned. So it's a very good film, Inferno. I recommend it, but I recommend that you see the movies in order. I recommend that you see Suspiria first, and then you see this one, and then you see Mother of Tears. And like Suspiria, there's a lot of Art Deco that you see throughout the film. Suspiria focuses more on Art Nouveau, which is the same time period as Art Deco. But all three of these films kind of have that same type of architecture going on, that same type of art period. But yeah, they're all very good films. In fact, if you guys want, I can actually do a video just about the Three Mothers movies. And this is our final don't film on the list. Don't Look in the Basement. The Day the Insane Took Over the Asylum. Basically a hospital that experiments with allowing the insane patients to live out their fantasies. It's an American horror film. It's pretty intense film at times. Basically they take over the hospital, and yeah, it's pretty good film. And Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. This came out in England. This is Britain's basically Night of the Living Dead type of film. And of course it ended up being banned. It is a good zombie movie overall, but I think Hell of the Living Dead is a little bit better, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I can leave the trailer. There's not really much to say about it. I mean, it's a typical zombie movie. Zombies killing people, eating their brains, eating their guts, you know. The driller killer. An artist that decides to take it on himself to kill homeless people, basically with a drill gun. Of course, most of the movie is pretty sleeper. It's basically about a guy that's progressively going crazy over some painting that he's trying to do. And eventually snaps, remembering that his father was homeless and kind of having to deal with that old man, you know, kind of trauma that happens and stuff, basically. You know, when you have a father that has kind of let you down and stuff, you know. So what happened was basically he remembered that his father was homeless at one point and kind of snaps and decides to kill homeless people. But vast majority of the movie is basically him in his apartment trying to finish this stupid painting, and there's a band, you know, that is blasting music, and it's just, you know, it's just him, you know, kind of going crazy over it and stuff. I have to say, I mean, it's definitely, when it came out on Arrow, this is probably the best version you're going to see of it. Prior to it being released by Arrow, most versions were so dark that you couldn't really see what was going on. They did a really good job remastering it. So it's really not a bad movie. It is pretty good movie. But I'll leave a trailer in the description. Toxic Zombies. I watched this recently. It's not really a zombie film. It's actually a drug dealers going crazy because the government decides to spray on them with some experimental weed killer. After dumping the chemicals onto the people, they become sick and they start mutating and basically turning into killers. And they start killing people. And it's not a bad film. But it's definitely I mean, the only version that I've seen of this is on DVD here, so I don't think it's going to be on Blu-ray anytime soon. I can leave a link to the trailer. Yikes. Tower just fell over. And wow, we're at the last one that I have. Last but not least, Maniac. This is the one movie that I highly recommend you see the remake of this film. This film is amazing. The remake is really amazing. Guys, it's first person, and the scene is just really dramatic. And I will post both the trailer for this and the remake in the description box. But basically it's about a guy who has trauma from his mother, who was a prostitute when she was alive. So what does he do? He decides to kill women, particularly women of the night, because he has that trauma. And he tries to make he tries to have a normal life, basically, and date and all that. But, that trauma always keeps resurfacing. And, of course, he scalps his victims and he puts their hair on his mannequins. And, but, yeah, both this and the remake are just amazing films. maniac. I warned you not to go out tonight. So, yeah. And in the remake, there's actually a scene where he stands in front of a car and you can see him posed like this in the remake. So it's just really amazing. But, yeah, I mean, this version's also really good. I recommend seeing both of them, personally. So, that is my Nasty collection. I'm missing, let's see, I'm missing Faces of Death, the Ghastly Ones, Miss You, Hugs and Kisses, which will never see the light of day anytime soon on DVD or Blu-ray. And Extra, which is not released in this country. It is a British alien film. It is available on YouTube to watch for free. It's very gruesome. I love it. I wish I did own it. But yeah, Extra, unfortunately, is not going to be released probably in the United States ever on video. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I will be posting some videos in the description box, links to videos about the Nasties and all that. So, yep. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you.